Did Jesus go to America in the Book of Mormon? In this video, we're going to explore the claim that some make that Jesus actually visited America after he was resurrected. Did he actually go to America? The Book of Mormon is where we find that claim, and we're going to explore what does the Book of Mormon say about that, and is there any other reference from outside the Book of Mormon to Jesus visiting the Americas.
I promise that as you ponder what you study, the windows of heaven will open, and you will receive answers to your own questions.
So according to the Book of Mormon, Jesus Christ actually came and visited the people in America after his resurrection in Jerusalem. Christ appeared to a group of people that were gathered around a temple, and it's found in a section of the Book of Mormon called 3rd Nephi in chapters 11 through 28. And in there, it's a fascinating account that records Jesus actually coming down from heaven, from the sky, people looking up and seeing this image coming down from heaven, and a voice coming from heaven introducing him. He descended, he invited the people to be baptized. He invited them to come forward and feel his hands, feel his feet, feel the wound in his side, and to testify that they actually had seen and felt and knew that this was Jesus Christ who had been killed in Jerusalem. In fact, prior to his coming to America, there were prophets in the American continent among people named Nephites and Lamanites. And those prophets had testified that Jesus would actually be born over in Jerusalem, and that his mother's name would be Mary, and that he would teach the people, he would suffer and die for them, and then be resurrected on the third day. So when he visited, he actually called 12 disciples, and he organized a church among them. He healed the sick, he performed miracles like he did in Jerusalem, and he stayed for many days and taught the people, taught them the doctrines that are contained in the Sermon on the Mount. He taught doctrines that the people had been familiar with from the prophets on the American continent. Jesus actually stated in the Bible, "There are other sheep I have which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd." That's in John chapter 10, verse 16. He taught the people in America that they were the other sheep that he was referring to when he was talking to his disciples in Jerusalem. In 3rd Nephi chapter 15, verses 21 through 24, he talks about these other sheep. And I would like to just go through this and paraphrase a little bit about what Jesus told these people. He continued, "They understood me not, that I said that they shall hear my voice, and they understood me not that the Gentiles should not at any time hear my voice, that I should not manifest myself unto them, the Gentiles, save it were by the Holy Ghost." Jesus also told them that you have both heard my voice and seen me, and are my sheep, and ye are numbered among those whom the Father hath given me. These people in America were actually part of the house of Israel. They were from the tribes of Manasseh and Ephraim through the early fathers of those in the Book of Mormon, Lehi and Ishmael. Those two families intermarried, and Ishmael, as later prophets of the LDS Church have said, came from the tribe of Ephraim, and Lehi was from the tribe of Manasseh. So what other sources talk about a possible visit by a god to the American continent? So in these traditions of a god visiting the people in South and Central America, there are two primary traditions that I wanted to talk about. One is the Viracocha, which comes from the Andean or Inca traditions, and talks about a god coming and visiting them, a great teacher who taught them a moral code and lived among them and traveled among the people. He was a bearded figure who walked in white robes. There was also a tradition in Aztec and Toltec legend about Quetzalcoatl, and you may have heard of this. He was a civilizing teacher associated with morality and good ways of living. He was opposed to some forms of human sacrifice in certain versions of the myths, and he was connected with heaven and divine authority. Why would Jesus, after he was resurrected, visit the people living on the American continent. We know there were more people living on the earth than just in Jerusalem. Sometimes we get myopic about thinking, well, the Bible is a record of the people who lived around Jerusalem, around Egypt, in the Middle East, and there were more people living on the earth than just those people. There were people who actually left Jerusalem around 600 BC and came over to the American continent. And they were living on the American continent at the time that Jesus lived in Jerusalem. There were prophets on the American continent teaching the people, and Jesus called his 12 apostles in the Jerusalem area. After Jesus performed the atonement, was killed, and then rose again on the third day, the resurrected Jesus actually came to the American continent and visited these people. Why would he do that? Because these were part of the house of Israel. These people living in the American continent were part of the tribes of Israel. They were from Manasseh and from Ephraim. And as he said in John chapter 10, that there are other sheep I have which are not of this fold, he was talking about the other tribes of Israel. And when he came over to the American continent, he talked to them as being part of the house of Israel. And the covenant that he had made as the God of the Old Testament was that he would continue to reveal his truth first through Abraham's lineage, through the house of Israel. And these were part of the house of Israel. And so Jesus came to visit them. And the Gentiles would actually receive the gospel from the teaching or the preaching of those who first received it, the house of Israel, and they would then go and teach others about Jesus. So, in the Book of Mormon, he said, I have now given unto you the commandments, and you are a remnant of the house of Joseph, and this land is the land of your inheritance, and the Father has given it unto you. This is in 3 Nephi chapter 15, verses 10 through 17. And I'm going to paraphrase some of this, but this is really fascinating what he says to these people when he comes to the American continent. He says, at no time has the Father given me a commandment that I should tell those who dwell at Jerusalem about you, nor about the other tribes of the house of Israel, whom the Father has led away out of the land of Jerusalem. But this much I was commanded by the Father to tell them, meaning the people in Jerusalem, that other sheep I have which are not of this fold. But I was commanded to say no more concerning this thing because of their stubbornness and their unbelief. Jesus continues to tell the people in America, now I am telling you that you were separated from them because of their iniquity or their sin. And it is because of their iniquity that they know not of you. And the other tribes have been separated from Jerusalem also, and it is because of their iniquity that the people in Jerusalem know not of them. That was in 3 Nephi chapter 15, verses 10 through 17. In Alma, chapter 10, verse 3, it talks about Lehi coming from the tribe of Manasseh. And it also, in 1 Nephi chapter 5, verse 14, Lehi, after he received the brass plates of Laban, Lehi learns that he was from the house of Joseph, who was sold into Egypt. There are many prophecies about Jesus in the Book of Mormon prior to his coming. 1 Nephi chapter 11, verses 18 and 32, it talks about a virgin who is the mother of the Son of God. And in verse 32 it says, I looked and beheld the Lamb of God, and he was taken by the people. Yea, the Son of the everlasting God was judged by the world. In 1 Nephi chapter 12, verse 6, it says that I saw the heavens opened and the Lamb of God descending out of heaven, and he came down and showed himself unto them. In 1 Nephi chapter 19, there's verses 11 and 12 and 16 that talk about thunderings and lightnings for the space of many hours when Jesus is crucified, and that the Lord God shall surely visit all of the house of Israel at that day, some with his voice, because of their righteousness, unto their great joy and salvation. In Mosiah chapter 3, verse 5, it says, the time cometh that with power the Lord omnipotent who reigneth shall come down from heaven among the children of men. And in chapter 15 of Mosiah, verse 1, it says, God himself shall come down among the children of men and shall redeem his people. In Helaman, Samuel the Lamanite, a prophet, testified in chapter 14 of Helaman that there shall be one day and a night and a day as if it were one day, and that there were no night. And that was at the birth of Jesus. And then At his death, Samuel prophesied that there shall be great thunderings and lightnings and tempests, all of which were recorded in the Book of Mormon. So it seems natural that if there were prophets in the Book of Mormon testifying that Jesus was actually going to be born in Jerusalem, live among the people, teach his gospel, and then be crucified and rise again the third day, that he actually would come and visit the people in America who also had prophets and were worshiping Jesus before he actually came and visited him. This is an amazing claim that Jesus came to the Americas. It's contained in the Book of Mormon. And if you want to learn more about this, I would suggest actually getting a copy of the Book of Mormon, opening it up to 3 Nephi chapter 11, and start reading. You'll start to learn about Jesus visiting these people, what happened, what he said. The first chapter actually has the word baptism 13 times in it. You'll find that in there. Then you'll see the Sermon on the Mount, the same things that he taught in Jerusalem. And then you'll learn other things that are fascinating that Jesus taught the people in America. Compare it to the Bible. Take the Book of Mormon, compare it to the Bible, and do your own study and see what you feel about Jesus actually visiting America and how that's consistent with what Jesus taught in Jerusalem in the Bible. Click the link in the description below and a Book of Mormon will be sent to you and you can study this for yourself. And I hope you have a wonderful journey in exploring this idea about Jesus coming to America.